Good morning and welcome to Wishwell Farms. I'm Jason, and today these grape tomatoes are getting transplanted. All right, Emma should be here any moment, and we will start moving grape tomatoes from the greenhouse into the box truck and then transporting them down to our grape tomato greenhouse to be transplanted. Emma and I are cutting holes in the perlite bags right now. So these bags, these white, long skinny bags, are filled with perlite. And we have the drippers poked in there right now just temporarily, just to make sure everything was lined up when we laid them out here the other day. So we're giving them a little smack on top to kind of level them off so the perlite doesn't all come poofing out when we cut and when we set the plant in. And I'm cutting an X right where the dripper hole was, because we had the dripper holes placed where we want the plants. Perlite bags obviously do not come with a pre-cut hole. All the perlite would fall right out, right? So that's why we're cutting the holes. And this is the first time I've used perlite bags in 10 years. When I put up my little greenhouse, my small house, the one that's only 21 feet wide by 96, I used perlite bags in there the first year. That was before I installed the Beto buckets, the Dutch Beto buckets. And they worked okay, but you know, this is kind of a time-consuming task to have to kneel down and cut all these little holes in here. I mean, it's not that bad. It's a half an hour of our day, but it's not like it's that enjoyable. So for the past 6 or 7 years, which is how long I've had this greenhouse here, we've used coconut coir bags. They're about the same dimensions as these perlite bags, but they come as a like dried compressed slab stacked on a pallet, and we would lay out our 160 coco coir bags, and they come with a pre-made hole, a 4x4 inch hole ready to set our tomato plants that are in rockwool right into the grow bag. First, we hydrate the grow bag with water. We run it for a couple days until the bag swells up, and then the hole is there and ready to receive the tomato. I'll throw some footage up right now of us transplanting tomatoes in here last year on the coco coir slabs, the coco coir bags, so you can see what I'm talking about. So as you can see, these grow bags are just ground up husk of an actual coconut. It's a great growing medium. So we're going to take the dripper out that was placed in there to rehydrate the slab, because originally when they got shipped they look like this. See how they're dry and compressed? So we had to rehydrate them so they're ready for planting. Take the dripper out, make sure our hole is nice and square to receive the plant. And then we're just going to stick it in there. I'm going to put the camera down so I can use both hands here. So we just want to make sure it's roughed up a little bit and not too hard packed, and that it's level. We don't want a hump in it, because we want good root contact with that husk. So that's all it takes. Just want to make sure there's no plastic under the cube, and that it has good contact on all four corners, and that it's straight up and down. That's the big thing. I really like the coconut coir bags. I think the main reason I switched to the perlite bags this year is because the coconut coir bags were a little more difficult for me to get. For several years, I was getting all of my hydroponic supplies from AMA Horticulture in Ontario. So they have to cross the border there into Detroit, and then it's shipped down to me. Even though it's not that far away, just crossing borders made it a little inconvenient. And I was tired of paying the high shipping cost. So this year, I thought, you know what, let's try some perlite bags. I ordered them from Crop King, just an hour and a half up the road in Lodi, Ohio, and I went and picked them up myself. So I didn't have any shipping expense except my own time and a little bit of fuel. So we'll see how they perform. We're gonna finish cutting these holes. We just got these first 3 rows to do right now. These 3 rows over here are for regular red round tomatoes, just like the ones we grow out in the field, and they haven't even been seeded yet. So next week, about 2 weeks from now, we'll be seeding those. So there's no reason to cut the holes in these yet, and we got to pull some new lines out, irrigation lines, because we're only going to put 2 plants per bag over here. We're putting 3 plants per bag over here of the grape tomatoes, because you can tighten up the spacing on grape tomatoes quite a bit compared to regular determinate red round tomatoes. All right, we're going to finish cutting these holes, and next we'll be heading up to the starter house to start loading up plants to bring them down here. All right, we're loading up grape tomatoes. They look beautiful. Look at those. Perfect, healthy grape tomato plants. Really happy with how they grew in here this year. Look at the roots. I don't really like to see that. I would rather my roots be air pruned. See how they're all growing down? That's usually what happens. Well, it'd be 10 times worse than that if I was just letting these grow straight on the blue board. I guess since these things have some solid spots that are touching the flat, that's why the roots are kind of growing out like that. But they'll be all right. We'll try to make sure we stuff them into the perlite as we transplant. So typically we just slide our flat in there, but with all these roots hanging out, you know, I don't want to injure them or destroy them. So yeah, we don't want to smear the roots all over the floor of the truck. So I think we're going to carry them in and set them down. It's barely above freezing today. Fortunately, it's calm. Yesterday was the huge windstorm. But fortunately today it's calm and it's about 35. So I think the plants will be all right out here for about 10 or 15 minutes. And then we'll get them in the nice warm grape tomato greenhouse. All right, there's all of our grape tomatoes ready to move down to the other greenhouse.
A little bit. You can go like a little bit farther probably. Maybe we're that way, yeah.
Here, I'll just hand one to you.
Yep.
So instead of spreading them all out right now, we're just bringing them in and setting them down to get them out of the cold as quick as we can. We'll get the door shut and then we'll start spreading them out up and down the rows. Some of those bamboo stakes want to slide out. We got about half of them out, and it is cold in this truck. It's probably close to freezing. So the quicker we get them out, the better.
I feel like these trucks are good at holding cold in.
Yeah, Emma just said these trucks kind of hold the cold in. You know, the door's been shut and they keep in the cold night air. And it's not that sunny today. It's a little overcast. And if it was windy, we wouldn't be able to do this today. All right, we got all of our grape tomatoes brought in here where it's nice and warm, and now we're gonna get them all spread out up and down the aisleways. One flat, we'll plant 3 bags. So I'm gonna set you up on time lapse so you can watch us spread these out really quickly. All right, we're starting the planting process. And it's a little tricky because we're doing 2 things at once that we don't normally have to do. We have to make sure the flaps are on the outside of the cube, obviously, and that these long roots are getting put under the cube. Give them a little gentle wiggle and then stick the stake down in there to hold them in place. We're probably gonna spill a little bit of perlite doing this, but I'll just get the leaf blower and blow it all up when we're finished. Now this row, we wanna make sure we put these bamboo stakes down pretty deep to anchor these plants in, because they're calling for high wind again tomorrow. And this is the side, when the wind comes out of the west is that direction. When the wind comes out of the southwest, it tends to put pressure on this sidewall, and it'll almost blow it up above the baseboard a little bit, and wind can sneak in here. Kind of do like a backdraft. It curls around, comes in under the baseboard and the sidewall, and will blow these plants over. So very important that we get these bamboo stakes in deep today. You would think that a southwest wind, which is that corner, would cause problems over there, but it doesn't. It just pushes that sidewall tight and doesn't ever move. It's the opposite side, kind of like the airplane wing effect almost. The wind's probably flying over this greenhouse, creating some kind of uplift. So Emma was saying that if you pull two of the little flaps back, you can kind of slide the cube in, be on the other two corners. This is probably why I didn't use the perlite bags for the last 10 years. I hate cutting holes and trying to stick them in there. But you know, in 1 hour, we're gonna have this job done. So it's really not that big of a deal. 1 hour of an entire year. Whoop-de-doo.
Nothing.
Yeah. But I'm gonna try this like she's doing right now. We'll each plant our own individual row. And if we determine that it's faster to help each other, we'll switch over and do it that way. All right, I'm gonna stop yapping and start planting. Yeah, the flaps are definitely a little bit of a pain in the butt.
I almost feel like it might have been better to cut a whole square out.
Yeah, that might have been a good idea. Emma just mentioned that you probably can't hear Emma good when she talks because I'm wearing the lav mic. She just said that it might have been better to cut the entire square out. It might have took a little longer to cut a square, but boy, it would have made transplanting really quick and easy. But for now, we're just gonna have to deal with the flaps and the roots. Plants are going in pretty good. If you're wondering how we're going to be trellising these grape tomatoes up, we're going to be using a method called the Florida weave. Many of you may know already what that is, and many of you may have watched me talk about how I do the Florida weave on our field tomatoes and in here on our grape tomatoes. That's why there's a 6-foot tall T-post in here. So we're going to be running a string, wrapping around the post, going to the next post, wrap it on that post on both sides, and that will kind of sandwich in the tomatoes. So that will be coming in a later video. So if you happen to be new to my channel and don't know what I'm talking about and are interested in seeing the entire growing process in here on these grape tomatoes from transplant day all the way to harvest and everything in between, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already so you don't miss those episodes as they get released throughout this spring and summer. All right, we're gonna keep on planting, get this cranked out, and we'll move on to the next job. All right, all of the plants have been put into the perlite bags, and now we are working on the drip lines, the drip stakes. And that one's a little too slow. Gonna have to replace that one. There's what it's supposed to look like. So we've had a few, but for the most part, they're pretty good. Oh, there's one. Another one. Hey, what do you know? It came out right. That's always good. Looks like we had about a half dozen that replugged because we had these all fixed last week. So kind of frustrating that we keep getting plug drippers, and it could just be some goop in the hose or where it comes out at the stake, the barbed stake. All right, we're gonna go ahead and fire up row 2, start putting those drippers in the cubes. If you're wondering what is coming out of these drippers right now, it's actually coming from our main greenhouse where our mixing tanks are, where our feed solution gets mixed up. And it is an exact recipe based around my water analysis. So these plants will be getting exactly what they need. All the nutrition that they require for optimal growth. So I've gotten a lot of comments in the past, why don't I just use a master tomato blend? For most cases, that will work just fine. And it may work for me as well. But I want to use an exact formula designed around what my water analysis is. So every other year I send my water in to get tested. And then Crop King will look at that water analysis and build my recipe around it because there's some stuff already in my water. So if you just feed a generic tomato master blend, for example, they're going to be getting too much of certain elements, nutrients, and not enough of others, potentially. So that's the reason I do it the way I do it. These will be set up on a timer. These bags will take a while to fully saturate because that's a lot of dry perlite. So I'll probably set them up to be fed every 30 or 40 minutes for about a minute and a half all day long, every day, just during the daylight hours, until I see or feel that these bags are getting saturated. And then I'm going to come back and put slices on these bags about an inch off the floor. That way, if they get too much water, well, you want them to get a little too much water. You want there to be some leachate is what it's called. I'll put slices down there, and I will collect it from a couple of the bags so I can test it every day to make sure they're getting the right amount of nutrients by testing the EC, the electrical conductivity, which is the dissolved nutrients in the water. And I'll also check the pH. All right, I had 2 in a row plugged up there. Once they're fully saturated, I'll probably back off the water a little bit, and I'll know how much to water them by how much is coming out of the bottom of the bags, just like I do the way I monitor the Dutch tomato buckets in the other greenhouses. All right, all of the drip emitters are flowing, and the stakes have been put into the rockwool cubes. Everything went really smooth. So sometime next week, once these tomato plants have rooted into the perlite bags, I will bring a box of tomato twine out here to trellis them up to these steel T-posts using the Florida weave. So if you're interested in seeing what the Florida weave is and how I'm going to be trellising these tomatoes up, that video should be coming out sometime in the near future, so stay tuned for that. If you are curious about how many grape tomatoes we will harvest from these 3 little rows, typically it's about 3,500 to 4,000 pints sold at $7 per pint at farmers market. So pretty profitable for only taking up half of this greenhouse. And tomorrow, Emma and I will be seeding bell peppers. It's hard to believe it's that time of the year already where we got to start thinking about our field crops. And this afternoon, I have some plastic to repair from yesterday's windstorm. But I think this is where we're going to wrap this one up today, folks. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And I will see you all again next time down on the farm.